Today, I'm going to share with you three simple things that you can do to attract conscious people into your reality. Now, you might say, Trevor, who are you to tell me how to attract conscious people? Well, I have met my wife, who is very conscious. I have a team of people I work with every day who seem pretty conscious. And I have a few friends that are also, when I say conscious people, I mean just people that are doing like any kind of inner work. They're just trying to be the best version of themselves. They're into growth, learning. They're like humble. They're able to, just go a little bit deeper within life. And I know what it's like when you have people around you, whether it's family, friends, coworkers, who are just, very not aware of themselves and their emotions. And I used to have a lot of friends, obviously, way back in high school and college, a lot of partying, a lot of drinking, smoking all the time, and people just numbing themselves with the partying, but also with like watching sports all the time and just not really having much life direction. So, if this is you, if you are wanting and craving people in your life that get you more, you can go deeper with, that understand you better, this video is for you. All right, so welcome to my channel. My name is Trevor Yaglinski. I am a coach consultant here in Austin, Texas. I'm also a husband and a father. And let me share with you three simple things you can do today to begin to attract people that you'll vibe with. And, I've gone through this process over the last 7 years where I call it like a spiritual awakening, where I really, you know, realized a lot about myself and the world about 7 years ago. I began to really question my reality and question, my lifestyle, what I was eating, what I was drinking, what I was watching, and it was a crazy process. I lost a lot of friends, many years ago from high school and college, and I just was alone for a while. I was like by myself for a number of, for a few years there. I didn't really have many friends, and I was craving connection. I was craving people who understood me, and now I have that. And this is what I did to attract these people into my life, because all of us are walking magnets. Like, all of us constantly attract things into our life to teach us things, to help us to learn, to grow, to evolve. So the first thing I did in 2018 was I began to slow down. Like I just shared with you, I went through a really big awakening process in 2018 after college. I had this thing called leaky gut, where my stomach and my microbiome was all out of whack from all the alcohol and all of my bad diets, all my bad food I was eating. I was really forced to slow down because I was having a lot of anxiety. I was having a lot of like low energy, and the doctors were saying I was healthy. I knew I wasn't healthy. I was just trying to figure out, why am I feeling so shitty all the time? I felt horrible all the time. And I was 22 years old. I was like, this is not normal. And what I came across was a lot of things, but mainly it was the fact that we have a subconscious mind, we have thoughts, and most people are not aware of their thoughts, right? Most people are not aware that they have certain thoughts daily, and many of our thoughts every single day are the same thoughts. A lot of people are having the same thoughts on repeat, on autopilot every single day. And our thoughts, our emotions, and our actions, these shape our reality, right? So the first thing I did was I began to slow down, and I began to become aware of my thoughts. And how? Well, I just took 10 minutes every single morning before work. I would sit on my little carpet. I had a studio in Manhattan. I would sit there, 10 minutes on my phone timer. I would sit there, close my eyes, and I would just meditate. And I would just try to observe the thoughts in my head. I would just observe what I was thinking. I also used a candle flame. I also use YouTube for some meditations I found like on YouTube. And these are ways that I began to slow down. And when people talk about raising their vibe and, raising their frequency, it's actually about slowing down from my experience. The more that we can slow down and become more present in the moment, that's how we can really, like I would say, level up our vibe, our frequency, is by slowing down. And we live in a world that is so fast paced with social media, and even just like the physical world, like in traffic. And I'm in Austin, Texas here. The highways in Austin are just, everyone's in a rush, and it's very we live in a very, very fast-paced world. If you can slow down, go within yourself, have a daily practice, it just takes 10 minutes a day. It will totally change your life completely. All right. Number two, I met my now wife about 2.5 years ago. And before I met her, I was dating. I was trying to find my soulmate, find someone that understood me and would get me. And I had a lot of failed relationships. And I look back on those failed relationships and I look at, what did I do wrong? And I was very guarded, right? I was very guarded with women, and I wasn't opening up. I wasn't able to. I'm not talking about being like all emotional and being all like wishy washy. I'm saying like I wasn't very vulnerable with people in my past. And I remember when I actually, before my wife, I had met someone. So I was living in Sedona about 2.5 years ago. I met someone on a hike and started talking to them, texting, hanging out with them a little bit. I liked them. They were attractive. Um, they ended up telling me, that they didn't want to see me anymore. They kind of didn't want to keep talking. And I was like, all right. And this is after a couple of like failed relationships. So I was like, man, like this dating world is just tough. Like I'm just kind of sick of this. Like, and I almost stopped dating. Like I just kind of stopped caring about dating people for a little while. And but what I did say was, I said, you know what? I'm just gonna kind of stop dating for now. Like not really worry about it. I'm gonna focus on myself, and I'm gonna focus on being when I'm with people. If I am in a dating scenario or whatever, I'm gonna just be myself, be vulnerable, be authentic, and be real. And I'm also not, like I said, I'm not gonna care about it so much. And it's funny because when I just kind of stopped caring about it, and I told myself I'm gonna be more authentic, be more vulnerable, be more real, what happened was I met my wife through a dating app. We were actually both in Sedona, Arizona. I met her in Sedona, and this was 2.5 years ago. And then now we're married. We have a son. We have a 1.5 year toddler. And my point is that for a while on my journey, I was not able to be open with my truths about, for example, what I would do was when I was dating in the past, uh, you see me now on YouTube and making videos, and I was doing this back then too. And I remember when I was on dates with people, with women, I would I would try to hide like my videos and like how I'm into some spiritual stuff and I'm into quantum physics and holistic health and all these things. I was just like not being myself. I was holding back myself because I didn't want them to think that I was weird. So what I was doing was I was putting out like my frequency, my vibe I was putting out was not very authentic. I was being in a sense fake. Actually, you could say in a sense I was being a little bit manipulative because I wasn't being my full self. I was hiding who I was. And I see a lot of people when they go through like an awakening process or they just want to meet people who understand them. Sometimes we try to change ourselves around people, and that can have like a boomerang negative effect. Versus my experience, like I said, the last few years with my wife now, when I committed to being authentic, being my full weird self, right? It all changed. I had this big fear that I would be dating someone or I'd be with someone like in a relationship, and I had this big fear that they would see my videos online and they would like either laugh at it or they would say, "Trevor, this is so weird. We're done." And the thing is, if if someone didn't like my videos, then they aren't meant for me anyway. And I'm actually robbing them of my true self, of showing them my true self. Versus like my wife now, she's all into this stuff too. She loves to like learn about spirituality and growth and all these things that I'm into. So if we can be vulnerable, be open, be authentic, and just commit to doing it daily, just commit to ourself and kind of like drop the importance of meeting someone. Just focus on being your full self all the time, and I bet you will attract people who get you because you're putting out your real frequency, your real vibration into the ethers or the quantum field, right? Number three, the last thing you can do to attract more conscious people into your reality is very challenging. This is probably out of these three things, this is probably the hardest one. And I think back to in early, or I should say late 2021, I was working at restaurants in Pennsylvania, and I actually got fired from a restaurant in my hometown, which is a long story. I'm not gonna get into it right now. It was a bunch of, I was really angry. It was a bunch of kind of BS, I thought, and I got fired. It was really like depressing and kind of crazy. And I decided that it was time for me to let go of of that reality, which I was in Pennsylvania at the time. And I decided, you know what? There's restaurants everywhere. I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna buy a one-way plane ticket to Phoenix, Arizona. And you know what I did? I sold my car. I packed up. I remember I had two suitcases and two carry-on bags, so I had four bags total. And I left my old life in Pennsylvania. I moved to Arizona, and it was extremely scary. Of course, I felt guided to do this. I felt called to do this. It wasn't just some random thing. It was, I mean, it was kind of random, but it was like I was following my intuition. I was following my gut feeling, right? And I had a roommate that I was going to be with in Phoenix. He was moving from Florida, so it was like perfect timing. I had a roommate. I had an apartment lined up. Of course, I had no job and no car, but that all came in time. And I had to let go of that past reality in Pennsylvania. My family was there. My friends from high school were there. I had some people that I would just like chill with, and really my family was tough. I had to leave everyone behind. I didn't have to, but I felt called to, right? I felt called to let go of these people and where I was at, and I felt like it was time to go for this fresh start. And it was extremely scary because I had to let go of that, and I didn't know. I remember I flew into Phoenix. I remember it was February 7th of 2022. I never forget this day because it was just a beautiful day, and I got off the plane in Phoenix. And remember, I came from Pennsylvania, which it was like probably like 20 degrees. It was freezing in February. Go off the plane in Phoenix. Got an Uber to my new apartment. You know, got my had my four bags, and I'll never forget. It was the sun was setting. It was about 75 degrees, and there's palm trees all around me. And keep in mind, I have no car, I have no job yet. I have like literally, I had like legit $2,000 in the bank, and that was it. That was it. I swear to God, that was it. But I got off the plane, and I'm looking around at this new environment in Phoenix. I was living in Tempe at the time, and man, I felt so high off life. I felt so happy. Yeah, I was a little bit scared still about like having financial security and finding a job and a car and everything. But it all worked out. I mean, I got a car. I have the same car now. I got restaurant jobs. I met friends, and that's my main point is that I met new people in Arizona. I met people who were more similar to me, people who were more high vibe because I had to let go of people back east in Pennsylvania. I had to let go of some of my friends back there. And this is kind of the trade off is that we can't really expect to get a whole lot more if we're still holding on to what needs to be released. But it's that clash of our mind going crazy saying, like, what's familiar to us is safe. We feel secure because we're used to it, right? When you make a big move or you make a big splash, like I did, going to Arizona, it's really terrifying. It really makes you have to trust in a higher power, in God, in your higher self, like your soulmates, your angels. You have to have this trust because it's terrifying. But this is one of the ways that you can attract more people who understand you is by letting go of people in your life who don't understand you. And that could be people close to you. And I'm not saying totally push them out and go no contact, but I mean maybe you can just free up some space in your mind, in your reality. Can you free up some room to call in people that resonate with you, that are into growth, that are working on themselves, right? And I remember I made some friends in Arizona. I had a buddy, I had a few friends in Tempe, and it was just so refreshing because I could be myself. I could talk about, you know, conspiracies and my diet. Like, I could talk about this health stuff and all these things I'm into. I could be myself, but I had to let go of the past of people that I was with before. So 3 things. Number one, slow down. Try to have a daily practice where you can maybe just meditate or you can just journal and just really just be with yourself and have some quiet time. Number two, be open and express yourself, be authentic, be vulnerable. Number three is to let go of what's no longer relevant to you and your future. And if this video gave you some value, please subscribe down below. Also, leave me a comment on this video or on Instagram. Let me know what videos do you want to see from me. I love creating content. I'll be sharing a lot more on this channel, so just subscribe so you don't miss any content. And thanks for watching, my friend. Have an amazing day. Take care. Much love. See ya.